Well, we are going to continue the series, Faith Works, with Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Before we do, there's something happening this coming week. It's called Divorce Care or Grief Share. So maybe you have an experience in your life that actually where something happened, maybe to a loved one, or you've gone through a difficult time. Starting this week, our Divorce Care and Grief Share starts up. So if you want more information, you can just go through those double doors right there, stop at the Information Center. They'll hook you up and get you connected. So Roy obviously isn't here. He'll be back next week, okay? So Roy will be back next week. I'm Jimmy Pitts. I'm the missions and community pastor. And so they've asked me to step in just today. And so hopefully it's good, right? No, I don't know. So I love being up here talking to you guys. This is my church family. I absolutely love the opportunity and just sharing from my heart what God is saying to me and then saying to all of us too. And so as we continue the series, Faith Works, it's a closer look at the book of James and what God is saying to you and what God is saying to me. And today we're going to talk about how life is like a vapor, like a fog that kind of is just here and then all of a sudden gone. Here today, gone tomorrow. I think we're all used to that phrase. We've all grown up at some point and heard it in our life. And so as we look at today's passage, let's remember this big idea that I think kind of drives the point in what we're saying. Our lives might be short, but our impact is eternal. Our lives might be short, but our impact is eternal. So let's begin and looking at James 4:13 through 17. It says this, "Look here, you who say, today or tomorrow we are going to go to a certain town, we'll stay there for a year, we'll do business there, make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like a morning fog. It's here for a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to live, we will live. We will do this, or we will do that. Otherwise, you are boasting about your own pretentious plans, and all such boasting is evil. Remember, it is a sin to know what you ought to do, and then not do it." So let's jump right in. So as we unpack this passage, let's look at three things as we kind of walk and unpack this. First, life is uncertain. James is hitting that pretty clear. Life is uncertain, and life, man, it changes. Anybody notice that? Man, it's just changing. Have you ever made plans and had to cancel them? I mean, come on, guys, you sleep. Have you ever made plans and had to cancel them? Yes. Have you ever made plans and had to change them? Yeah, okay. Now, I did this once. This was... I told this once, but it was a long time ago, like over 10 years ago. So my wife and I, when we got married for our 5th year anniversary, I want to do something special. So I'm going to take you on a cruise. We're going to have a blast. And I'm going to plan it all because that shows her I love her more, right? Right, ladies? Yeah, if you do the planning, thank you. And so I'm doing all the planning and all that. And then so our 5th year anniversary, it's just going to be special and nice and awesome. And so it rolls into about 3 weeks before we go, almost 2 weeks. And how many have done cruising here? You get something in the mail before you go? Generally, remember they get a little packet and they kind of give you a little luggage tags and all that. Well, it hadn't come. I'm like, what's the deal? Like, I leave in 2 weeks. I mean, something's not right. So I call the reservation office. And I bring up my itinerary on the computer, and I'm on the line with them looking at it. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Pitts, thank you so much for calling. What can we do? I'm like, well, I'm getting ready to go on a cruise. Okay, can you just tell me your name again? Da-da-da-da. And they look it up, and they're like, yeah, Mr. Pitts, we have you confirmed, but it's for next year, same dates. And I'm leaving in 2 weeks. And so I'm like, do you make personal calls? Would you mind calling my wife for me, Like, I'm sorry, Mr. Pitts, we don't do that. And I'm like, okay, thank you so much. So I hang up, and my wife, I call her. She just laughs. She knows me. So she's like, it's okay. So we stayed home. We already had the time off. And then we painted the outside of the house. It's horrible. Man, I married up. I know I did. I know my place, So... But have you ever made an investment and then watched it disappear? Hope for a gain on something, and then it became a complete loss. People move, people change, jobs change. Your spouse changes maybe. We change, our kids change, our churches change. I've been here for 24 years. This church has changed, and those who have been here that long or longer has seen the change take place. Nothing is certain, except for God. except for God. I believe God is the only thing certain in the revolving, world going around. He is the consistent variable. And because life is uncertain, it can change at any moment. All of us are, I think, looking for some type of fulfillment, some type of purpose in our life. We're looking for security, that things will be okay, that I'll be okay. And the uncertainty is not having the things around us. Sometimes that uncertainty is like, man, what is going on? Sometimes that uncertainty is us. What do you do? What do I do? Well, we plan to buy a car, plan to get married, plan to buy a house, plan to have a family. And then it happens. You lose your job, market crashes, marriage doesn't work, your child was killed. Everyone in this room cannot escape the uncertainty of life. That's what James is saying. You don't know. You know, years ago, for me, years ago, I was hiking on this trail, and I was listening to a podcast, all right, on my cassette player, You guys get that? I really was. So that tells you how long ago it was. But I remember this guy's message. I was going up Malin's Peak, top of 27th right here, listening to it. And I remember as clear as day, he said, there's 3 things certain in life. Now, this is a Christian guy, so this is his perspective, and I agree with it, though. He said, death is sure. Okay, we all agree with that. He said, God is good. God is always good. And heaven is sure. Heaven is real. Never forgot that, because I think it still impacts me today on how I live my life. You see, I can rest knowing God is far more in control of life and my life than I even give him credit for. Despite my limited knowledge in circumstances around me, whether in pain or in joy, I know God is always good. God deeply cares about me, and he's in control. That in a world that is forever changing, right, as I get older, I find it more difficult to keep up. Anybody there? I got these things now, right? Yeah. It's so hard to keep up with the pace that's moving. But I'm okay with that because I know God's got me. God's got me. And because life is so uncertain, I've seen some who seek to control the life around them, while others become so insecure they can hardly live within it. You see, everyone is going to struggle with either insecurities or trying to control the circumstances around them, or both. I'm probably a little bit of both, to be honest. Sometimes just ask the staff, man. Sometimes a little controlling, I want to push my way. Sometimes I'm just insecure. Insecurity, I believe, is trying to find God in the wrong places, kind of like in people, unhealthy relationships with people, in things, in substances and addictions. While controlling people, well, they're just the opposite side of the coin, right? They're playing God in their life. Both are in the same position of not trusting God. And I'm not saying and pointing fingers to anyone, because I think we've all struggled there, like I said, including myself, and we all struggle with our own current brokenness. So bottom line is, they're looking for peace. We're looking for peace. We're trying to find that fulfillment, that peace that sustains us during the circumstances of an unchanging world. You see, trusting in God may not change the circumstances around you, right? It may not. We hope it does, but it may not. But it changes you. It changes my perspective. It changes my attitude. It changes yours. Life is bigger than my years. My years are getting up there. Trust me. It's bigger than my years. My purpose is greater than my days. The reality is, in the midst of the circumstances that we can't control, in those circumstances we can't control, the insecurities that rise in us in those times, we all want someone to trust. We all want someone to calm that storm which is raging in us. And it's usually raging in anger or fear. Anger or fear at different times. So the question is, who are you trusting? Who is calming your soul? Second point, life is short. I think that pretty much is true. Everyone know that? It's pretty short. It seems to cruise on by. James continues in verse 14 to say, your life is like a morning fog. It's a mist. While it's there and then it's gone. What you ought to say, if the Lord wants us to, we will live, or we will do this, or we will do that. Otherwise, you are boasting about your own pretentious plans, and all such boasting is evil. No matter how short life is, or how long it is, we're alive today, correct? We're here. We all have life, and I know life is short. I do. But you know what I also know? I know I'm invincible. My wife thinks I'm crazy. My staff think I'm invincible until God calls me. I got a date up here. I can't see it. Can you guys see it? So when God calls me, I can't see it. So I believe I'm invincible. Sounds crazy. But I can get hurt. Sometimes I forget about that, especially as I get older. So about 5 years ago, I took this group of people from the church. I'm like, hey, let's go do the Dirty Dash. It's that mud run. You guys have ever done that? Anybody? So fun, 5K. I mean, you're just diving in mud pits. And I dive into them, come out. Then I look like a woman because they can't tell who I am. I'm completely covered. They're like, hey, look at that lady. She's doing it. That's what they do. I'm like, I'm not a lady, But then I'm swimming around and we're going in. And the last thing, because it's up that Soldier Hollow, the last thing on that lift or on that run is almost this slip and slide, okay? It's an inflated one that goes down the mountain. Anybody done that? This thing is freaking awesome, okay? And it really goes down the mountain. So I had this 18-year-old guy with me. He's like, dude, let's race. I'm like, dude, I'll smoke you, dude. I know I will. I'm completely, and I know I will. I know how to ride those things. So I'm like, okay. I used to go to these water parks. Almost got kicked out, Because what you do is you ride on your knees and elbows. Less friction, you will fly. You will fly down the mountain. So I am cruising down, and I am totally smoking him. Now, if you imagine, if we're going through mud pit after mud pit after mud pit, what are you assuming at the end of the slip and slide is going to be? A mud pit, right? So I am cruising and I see there is nothing, and I know it's too late. It's just too late. There's no way I can stop. It's just going to get worse. And so what it is like basically visqueen on the ground, some big plastic sheet that you land onto, and I'm flying down, and I launch off that, hit square on my chest, but it gets better, okay? Then they have this little kind of like barricade that's supposed to stop you with a little visqueen over that. I'm not even kidding. I launched over that too. And I go up again and then down again and land again on my chest. And then, of course, I'm a guy, so everyone like rushes to me and I'm like, hey, I'm okay. I'm walking away. I'm like, I am not okay, man. There is no way. So call my wife, run to the dad's office. They x-ray me, busted ribs. Sure enough, right up here. It was beautiful. See, it was beautiful. Life is short. Things can happen. I can get hurt. I'm invincible, but I can get hurt. I know that, But James says your life is like a vapor, like the morning mist. Comes and goes so fast. There's no guarantees about tomorrow, let alone next year or 10 years from now. You may be young, healthy this morning, but you cannot even guarantee tomorrow. No one can. James is telling us these things that we might live differently. That we might live differently. And how is that? That we can see perspective in light of eternity, not just here and now. There's a bigger picture going on in our life. And isn't it true that the older we get, the faster time seems to kind of fly on by? Anybody ever experienced that? I'm telling you, time just seems like it's moving for me. When I was young, and I just couldn't wait to drive. I felt like the thing was moving so slow. Can't wait to move out, do this, do that. Now it's just like, dude, it's got to slow down. But so let me show you how life has just moved so fast for me, okay? This is going to be fun now. It's going to be a little kind of shaming on my part, okay? Let me show you some pictures of me, all right? So here we go. Let's go with the first one. Yeah, this is me. It's cute. I'm a little kid. It looks good. It gets better, so hang in there. Okay, here we go. The next one. All right, I'm slowly growing up. Yeah. And then, of course, I lose a couple of teeth here and there. Luckily, they're not black and whites, okay? It was a time earlier, Then we're moving around. Oh, yeah, the hair days. I love the hair days. The 70s, nice little leather vest. It was way cool for me, okay? Oh, the look. Look at that. That's scary. Yeah, we can move along, okay? Yeah, my senior picture. Yeah, crazy. I think I look older then, but it's okay. Okay, keep on going. And today, this is me. Okay, it doesn't end there because I'm still getting older, right? So let's see what I'm going to look like now going older. All right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pretty good. My wife and I have already started counseling, okay, just so you know. Because now I look like my grandma. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Grandma, how you doing? Okay, you can remove this now, guys. You guys are so bad. Life is short. We are broken creatures looking for something in this life because all we see is the now. That's what James says. All we see is the now, and all we get is the now. All we have to do is listen to the news, read a headline, or turn on the radio to know how short life is. In fact, just yesterday, I'm sitting in my backyard just going over some notes for this message, talking about the shortness of life and kind of doing some preparing, just sitting there in my backyard, get a call first thing in the morning. And it was the Weber County Sheriff's Department. They're like, Jimmy, we just had a death. We may need you to go make a notification of death to the family. I mean, as I'm preparing this, something like that fast happens. I volunteer, so does Roy, for the Weber County Sheriff's Department and for Weber County Fire as a chaplain. Roy does for Layton City as well. The majority of time when I get a call, someone has lost their life, it's unexpected and it's cut short. I sit with families and try to help them cope with the pain. But you know what the most difficult part is for me? I can't explain to someone why their loved one's life was cut short. While I know God is in control, it doesn't eliminate the pain or the loss that they're feeling. I know nothing I say will probably ease that pain, so all I can do in that moment is point them to the one who can comfort all souls. And just point them gently. So the reality is, looks kind of dim at first, right? And what's crazy is most of us won't even be remembered within 4 generations. Now this sounds pretty depressing, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, within 4 generations, most of us won't even be remembered. I can remember my grandfather. I can remember my great-grandfather only on my mom's side. I can't tell you anyone else. Now, there's exceptions. Some people know this far more. But most of us, and we can't say what tomorrow will bring, whether our kids or anyone else in our family line, most of us can't remember more than 4 generations back. That's how fast life is. It feels like you almost disappear. But James is not saying that. He's saying life is bigger than me and longer than my earthly years. Then maybe I should live differently. Maybe I should look at it differently. You see, while life is short and limited to a certain amount of days, months, and years for me, I have choices, right? You have choices. Choices that reach beyond my days in sight that I believe stretch into eternity. Whether I am remembered or not is completely irrelevant to how I should live my days and the choices I make. Not whether I should be remembered. And because of how we are made, we are people that can't go back or forward in time. You ever notice that? We're stuck. What are we stuck in? The now. I mean, we have a past. Some of us will definitely have a future. Not all of us, but some of us will. I mean, hopefully all of us today, you know. But we can't guarantee it. So we're stuck in this moment, right? This moment. Because life is short, we only have the moment. We have this moment right now. And then we have the next moment. We don't have tomorrow. We don't have next week. We don't have next year that we know of. We have the moment. We have the now. But how many ordinary moments pass us by that could have been more, that should have been more? Moments that define our lives. You know, some days I feel God, and it feels incredible. And I think some days perhaps you have felt God in your life, and it feels incredible. But I'll be honest, most of the days I feel me. I don't feel God. But I know God is with me. I know God is with me. But I have choices. Whether I feel Him or not, I have choices in the moments and how I should live and how you should live. So let me tell you a story. It's found in the Old Testament of a guy who lived in the moment, who was willing to risk it all, not even knowing the outcome of it. You see, so many of us are trying to figure out how to step into a life we long for, okay, that we miss the moments and they pass us by. The defining moments, the meaningful moments. And when they pass us by, we see it then. You know why? Because we say, I should have done that. I should have gone there. I should have taken a risk. I should have helped. I was in Thailand a number of years ago with the team. We were doing a couple extra free days. We were in Cambodia and then jumped over there for a couple of days before we came home. While we were there, we were, going to a market, hanging out, shopping, doing whatever. And I noticed an elderly man, and he looked like 80, 90 years old, rough shape. He was homeless, obviously, so his life is very difficult and hard. And he was going through the trash at this market that we are. And he's digging through the trash, just looking for something to eat, just doing something, just digging through the trash. And you know what I did? Nothing. Nothing. I still remember the moment. Isn't that crazy? Why do I remember it? Because I should have done something. I should have done something. It's a regret. I think we all have them. But we can look at our own personal lives and see those moments in which passed us by when they were meant for something meaningful, whether we recognized it or not. It could have been for someone else. I passed it by. I passed it by. So there's this story in the Old Testament where Saul, the first king of Israel, and his son Jonathan on the edge of encountering a huge battle with the Philistines. It's a moment where they are faced with overwhelming odds. And it's like 600 to 10,000, and there's only two swords in the Israelite camp, Saul and Jonathan. I don't know if the other ones have rocks or something, but now the Philistines, they got like chariots, horses, swords, they've got everything. And it's a battle Saul believes they can't win. He thinks they can't. He's like, there's no chance in the world that we can win. So he decides to pull back and just let life go, happen. To avoid the reality of the future, probably that is waiting him. So you know what Saul does? He just goes to sleep. He just goes to sleep. And in the middle of the night, his son, Jonathan, wakes up and gets his sword bearer and says, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go pick a fight with the Philistines, just the two of us. And this is a moment we step into. We step into it as an audience. We begin to see this moment that two people can have the same moment and come out in two different futures. You may have a moment or moments in your life that you thought were mundane, meaningless, void, of any type of significance. But that same moment was filled with opportunity and possibilities for somebody else. And the great danger in life is to watch life happen rather than to trust God through it. So the story continues in 1 Samuel 14. When Jonathan woke up, he went to his sword bearer and said, hey, perhaps the Lord will help us. He can win a battle, whether it's many warriors or a few. The thought may be, and this is realized, Jonathan is saying, perhaps the Lord will help us. So he's saying, well, maybe God will help us. Maybe he won't. But now if I'm going to pick a fight now, it's not 10,000 to 600, it's 10,000 to what? 2. I'm thinking, you should know whether God's going to help us or not. If you're waking me up at night, all of a sudden, like, hey, I think God's going to help us. Let's go pick a fight with the Philistines. They're big, they got a lot of spears and stuff, but let's try it. It's like, well, don't you think? What kind of speech? This is not the motivational speech you want to use. This is not Braveheart, right? Standing up, pumping everyone up. It's like, hey, maybe we'll win, maybe we won't. Let's just go. Let's see what God does. This is what he's telling him. I'm like, you need some more information? Let's get a better strategy, that's for sure. This strategy is not working. And then Jonathan says, we'll cross over, and then we'll let him see us. What kind of strategy is that? You're at night, right? In the cover, you can actually do a sneak attack, right? You can kind of go through, pop a couple out, come back, do it again, scare them. Oh, no, it's like, hey, guys, here we come. We're right here. It's at night. But Jonathan is like doing everything wrong, it seems. It's the worst strategy I've ever heard. But let him see you? I mean, serious? But you see, Jonathan knew that he could not do this journey alone. And there are some places you and I can go in this life without God. But there is a life waiting for you and for me, for us, that we cannot dive into without God in our life. You see, Jonathan knows in the moment, if God doesn't show up, he's dead. So he's going to risk it all. He's going to risk it all. Then he goes on to say, now if they say to us, stay where you are, or we'll kill you, then we'll stop and not go up, and we'll probably die. But if they say, come up and fight, then we will go. That'll be a sign from the Lord that he'll help us defeat them. Once again, it's a weird strategy. Go up? What's the problem there? Who has the advantage? So the Philistines saw them coming and shouted, look, the Hebrews are crawling out of their holes. Then the men from the outpost shouted to Jonathan and said, come up here. We'll teach you a lesson. Then Jonathan is like excited. He's like, come on. Climb right behind me. For the Lord, he'll help us defeat them. So they climbed using both hands and feet. Very detailed. What's that telling you if they're going to hands and feet? They're completely vulnerable. And when they reached the Philistines, they began to fall before Jonathan and his sword bearer. In that moment, one invites God into the space, and the other one just goes to sleep. Jonathan, not knowing even the outcome, but trusting God, either way, steps into a space that might cost him his life. And James says, your life is like the morning fog. It's here for a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or do that. Invite God into this space. I believe it's understanding really who is in control of this life, and it's not me. It's not me. And inviting him into the space. Jonathan uses the phrase perhaps or maybe God will help us. He isn't certain. But what I love about Jonathan, he is not going to sleep his life away. He's not going to sleep his life away. He's going to do something. And he's going to risk. But ultimately, he's going to trust God in the moments of his life. You see, most of us want to take those risks, make a difference, and change the lives and our lives as long as we can know the outcome. A lot of times, including myself, we get stalled because we want to know the outcome before we actually take that risk. Jonathan took a step and took that moment, stepping into it, not even knowing the outcome, but trusting God. And I think there are those here today that God is asking them to step into the moment. Trust me, he's saying. Maybe in your marriage, your kids, their lives, it could be a mess. It could be something with them. It could be in your finances. It could be in a job, needing a job. Maybe for some, it's just actually crossing that threshold and meeting God for the first time. Whatever it is, it's scary, right? And it's risky, especially that first time. Because you don't know the outcome. It's kind of scary. But God does. And God says, trust me. Trust me. Life is short, right? Life is short. Don't wait. He says, trust me. Third point. Our impact is eternal. James 4:17. Remember, it is a sin to know what you ought to do and then not do it. One of my all-time favorite movies, maybe some of you in here, is Gladiator. Any Gladiator fans? Dude, I love that movie. And that first scene, where Maximus is like pumping up the guys, talking to them because they're going to get ready to battle, I think Germany or something like that. And so he's got them all there, and he's talking to them, and he gives one line, and he says, what you do in this life echoes into eternity. I'm like, wow, that is so profound and so true. You see, it's so bizarre to me when some people want to make a difference and they want to do great things for God, but first they want to, earn this amount or that amount, or they want to do this or that. That there are some who want to wait until maybe they have the right income, the right position, the right lifestyle, the right husband, the right wife, the right education. But do you know what I think? I believe God has already given each of them and to us the right gifts, the right income, and the right place to make a difference in those around us today. Whoever we encounter, grocery store, Starbucks, it doesn't matter. Whoever, it's already in our path. You see, what happens is we compare ourselves to other people, some of us, and we think, well, I'll need more of that, I'll need that, and I'll need that before I actually can do something, because that looks like it'd be right and be more effective. Believe it or not, you and I have all we need today, I believe, to make a difference in the lives we encounter in this moment. This doesn't mean you and I can't plan, shouldn't grow. I mean, there's still tomorrow, but we don't know what tomorrow will bring. None of us do. We can't even guarantee it, or 5 years from now. And I don't believe it's about a title. I don't believe it's about a position. I don't believe it's about money that changes the world. I go overseas all the time and see these third world countries, and it's awesome. And when we go to help and build things, it helps, right? It takes them to another level in some cases. But a lot of times people are like, hey, I want to pay for this, I want to buy this, I want to do this. But you know, what changes the world? Us, right? We do. It's not the things that we bring into it necessarily. Now that stuff can help, but it's Jesus who changes the world. It's hope. It's love. It's sacrifice. It's forgiveness. Wow, that's a hard one. But it's forgiveness. That changes relationships and lives. And it's about the risks in taking the moments that we are given. Because once we realize how much we are loved, what He has done for us, and what it cost Him, why wouldn't we live differently? How can we stay the same knowing eternity awaits us? So each one of us has been given this life, a particular time, particular place, with a particular income. We all have something, right? All of us. No matter who we are, no matter where we are. And it's all different from person to person in this time right now in the world. So what are we going to do with it? I mean, God has given us stuff and things, and this includes like talents, skills, influence. We all have some amount. God's saying, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? So let me share this parable with you that Jesus told. It goes like this. There once was a master who was going on a long trip who had 3 servants. First servant, he gave 5 bags of silver. To another, he gave 2 bags of silver. And to the final, he gave 1 bag of silver. When he returned, the servant with 5 bags invested it and gave him 5 more bags. The master was like, well done, good job. The one he gave 2 bags of silver invested it and received 2 more bags. He's like, well done, good job. The master, however, when the servant who was given 1 bag came, he had buried it, dug it up, and when the master returned, Master went up to him, the servant gave him the bag of silver and said, Master, I know you are a harsh man. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back. The master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. Why didn't you deposit the money at least in the bank? I could have gotten an interest off that. You see, there are a few things I think that stands out in this passage. First, what's the investment? It's not things. It's people. It's relationships. It's not things. It's you and me. It's people around us. That's the investment the master is looking at. What's the investment in your life? It's the people around you that cross your path. It's not things. Second, everyone is given something. Every single one was given something. Different in proportion, but given something. But that says we all have something. We all have something. Right in this moment, we all have something. Third, look at what the servant did with the 1 bag. He buried it. Never used it. He acknowledges he had it, but he does nothing with it. Then when confronted by the master, he blames the master. What impacts me the most is his response to the master. You of the master, you wicked and lazy servant. I gave you something. You did nothing with it. We always think it's wicked to do something because we see that on the news. But the master is saying it's wicked to do nothing with what we have, and we should do something with that. What has God given you? What has God given me in order to see life differently in the moment and to change the life in the moments around us? Big idea. Our lives might be short, but our impact is eternal. In closing, I just want to give you this quick illustration. Our lives, we only see a small portion of them. So let's just imagine this rope is our complete life, all of what we're going to be. But this little red part, well, that's just now. That's our entire life of our life's existence on earth. Okay? So we make decisions here, we do this here, we buy this here, we think this is important, that is important. We do everything in the making the decision process primarily for where? Including me, here. You know what God is saying? You know what James is saying? Your life is bigger than you think. And it just keeps on going. Why is every decision I'm making, you're making, we're making always about this? He says, store up your treasures here, not here. Man, we get so stuck in here, don't we? We all do. And James is saying, look, life is bigger than you think. You can have a bigger impact. Store up here. Don't worry about here. He says, I'll take care of you. Take risks here. You have the moments here, but store for your entire life so you can make a difference in the world around you and in yourself. Would you pray with me? Father, thank you that you're a God who is consistent, and you care about us in a world that's continually changing. That, Lord, you desire to impact our life, and you desire for us to impact those around us. Help us, Lord, to see you, to take more risks in the moment, not pass by those meaningful times in which are coming our way. Help us to be dispensers of grace and love everywhere we go. Lord, help us to fall more in love with you each day. I pray you be with us this week. Keep us safe. Until next time. In Jesus' name, amen.